Commander Taeyang stared at the display screen with growing confusion. The scanner readings made no sense. His ship had entered Sector 447 3 hours ago, expecting to find nothing but empty space and dead rocks. Instead, the sensors showed something impossible on Moon K773. "Run the scan again," he ordered his crew. The insectoid navigator clicked her mandibles nervously. "Sir, I have run it 5 times. The readings are consistent. There are artificial structures beneath the surface." Taeyang leaned back in his command chair. He had served the Vrathian Empire for 20 years, exploring forgotten corners of the galaxy. Ancient ruins were common enough. Dead civilizations left their marks everywhere. But something about these readings felt different. "Take us down," he said finally. "Standard survey formation." The ship descended through the thin atmosphere of K773. The moon was small and cold, orbiting a dying star. According to Imperial records, nothing had ever lived here. Nothing could live here. Yet as they approached the surface, the scanner showed clear evidence of power generation deep underground. The landing site was unremarkable. Gray rocks stretched in every direction under a black sky. Taeyang suited up with his team and stepped outside. The ground crunched under his boots. He activated his portable scanner and followed the energy signature. After walking for 30 minutes, they found it. A metal door set into the side of a cliff face. The door was clean, maintained, and clearly functional. Taeyang felt his scales prickle with unease. "This was not a ruin. This is still active," whispered Kale, the youngest member of his team. The Vrathian soldier touched the door with one clawed hand. "Someone is down there." Before Taeyang could respond, the door opened. Bright light spilled out from inside. A figure stood in the doorway, silhouetted against the glow. As Taeyang's eyes adjusted, he saw something that made his blood run cold. The figure was human. Taeyang had seen humans before. The Empire had absorbed several human populations over the centuries. They were weak, fragile creatures with soft skin and small bodies. Useful as technicians and administrators, but nothing special. What made this impossible was that humans were supposed to be extinct. The original human homeworld had been destroyed 8,000 cycles ago. Every Imperial citizen knew this fact, yet here stood a human, alive and apparently healthy, smiling at them. "Welcome," the human said in perfect Imperial common. "We detected your ship. Please come inside. You must be cold." Taeyang found himself following the human into the tunnel without thinking. His training said to be cautious, to call for backup, to follow procedure. But his curiosity overwhelmed everything else. The tunnel led downward, lit by strips of gentle white light. The walls were smooth and clean. After 5 minutes of walking, the tunnel opened into something beyond comprehension. A city stretched before them. Not a small settlement, but a genuine city with buildings, streets, and thousands of people moving about their business, all of them human. The city existed in a massive underground cavern, with a ceiling so high it disappeared into darkness above. Artificial suns hung in the air, providing warmth and light. Gardens grew in terraced levels. Water flowed through channels and fountains. Children played in parks while adults worked in shops and offices. "This is New Haven," the human guide said, "home to 50,000 people. I am Hyun-woo, our elected leader. You are the first visitors we have had in 10,000 years. 10,000 years. The number echoed in Taeyang's mind. That was long before the Empire had even reached this sector. These humans had been here, alone and isolated, for longer than most civilizations survived. Hyun-woo led them to a large building at the center of the city. Inside, more humans waited. They all looked curious but not afraid. A woman with kind eyes offered them water. A man with gray hair asked questions about their ship. A young girl stared at Kale's scales with fascination. "How is this possible?" Taeyang finally managed to ask. "Humans are extinct. The records say, your records are wrong," Hyun-woo said gently. "Our ancestors were from Earth, yes. When Earth was destroyed, 12 colony ships escaped. Ours was damaged in the journey. We crashed here and had no way to leave, so we built this city. We survived." Taeyang walked through New Haven for hours, documenting everything. His team spread out, taking readings and recordings. What they found challenged everything the Empire claimed to know. The humans had developed fusion reactors that produced no waste. Their farms grew food using techniques that maximized every resource. Their medical facilities could heal injuries that Empire doctors considered permanent. In one building, Taiyang met a woman named Ji-wan. She was an engineer and she showed him their recycling system. Nothing was wasted in New Haven. Every atom was tracked, used, and reused. The efficiency was 40% better than Imperial standard technology. How did you develop this? Taiyang asked. Ji-wan smiled. We had to. Resources are limited here. We could not afford waste, so we learned to be careful with everything we had. Over generations, we got better at it. In the agricultural domes, a man named Dae-hyun showed them plants that grew in conditions that should kill them. Life adapts, he explained. We just helped it along. Careful breeding, genetic patience, and respect for what the plants could teach us. Everywhere Taiyang went, he saw the same pattern. The humans had not just survived. They had thrived through innovation and cooperation. They had no weapons, no military, no defenses against invasion, yet they seemed completely unafraid. That evening, Hyun-woo invited the survey team to dinner. They sat in a large hall with hundreds of humans. The food was simple but delicious. The conversation was warm. Kale, the young Vrathian soldier, laughed at a joke told by a human teenager named Minji. Taeyang watched his crew relax in a way he had never seen on Imperial worlds. After dinner, Taeyang sent his report to Imperial headquarters. He included all the scanner data, all the recordings, and all his observations. He tried to keep his language neutral and professional, but he could not hide the fundamental truth. Humans existed. They had been here for 10,000 years. And they possessed technology the Empire needed. The response came back within an hour. It was marked with the highest security classification. The message was brief. Maintain position. Reveal nothing to the humans. Investigation fleet en route. Estimated arrival, 6 days. Taeyang read the message 3 times. The tone worried him. The Empire had made a mistake. The records were wrong. A good government would admit the error and welcome these survivors. But the message did not sound welcoming. It sounded like a threat. He looked out at New Haven, at the lights and life that filled the underground city. These people had built something beautiful from nothing. They had survived impossible odds. They deserved recognition and respect. Instead, they were about to face the full attention of an empire that did not tolerate being proven wrong. Taeyang deleted the message and went to find Hyun-woo. Whatever was coming, the humans deserved to know. The trial chamber remained in chaos for an hour. Representatives from dozens of species demanded answers. The judges struggled to restore order. Velmoth stood frozen at his podium, his carefully constructed case collapsing around him. Admiral Sung-ho stood in the spectator section. He was human, descended from a population that had accepted imperial integration centuries ago. He had served the Empire faithfully for 30 years, believing it was a force for peace and unity. Now he knew his ancestors had been conquered and lied to, just like Earth. He pressed a button on his communicator. This is Admiral Sung-ho. I am formally breaking protocol to address the trial court. Security moved to stop him, but the presiding judge waved them back. Speak, Admiral. The rules have already been shattered today. Sung-ho walked to the center of the chamber. He looked at Hyun-woo, at Ji-wan, at the other humans from New Haven. Then he looked at Velmoth. I am human, Sung-ho said simply. I thought I knew my history. We were told our ancestors joined the Empire willingly, seeking protection and advancement. But I have spent the last 3 days researching archived records. My people were not willing. We were defeated in war, occupied and re-educated. Our children were taught to forget Earth and embrace imperial culture. By the 3rd generation, the truth was gone. He turned to address the entire chamber. How many other species have similar hidden histories? How much of what we believe about the Empire is built on buried truth? 3 representatives stood up simultaneously. They belonged to species that had been integrated into the Empire long ago. Each began asking questions about their own histories, demanding access to sealed archives. The presiding judge pounded his gavel, finally restoring some order. This trial has raised questions far beyond the initial scope. We must address them properly. However, the immediate question remains, what is the status of New Haven? Velmoth recovered his composure. The historical revelations change nothing about the present. These humans still lack the capacity for true sovereignty. They have no military defense, no expansion capability, They have something better, interrupted Kira. The chief investigator stepped forward, her compound eyes reflecting the chamber lights. They have independence of thought. Everyone turned to look at her. Kira had been silent until now. I have spent weeks studying New Haven, Kira continued. I was sent to find weakness to justify integration. Instead, I found a civilization that functions better than most imperial worlds. They innovate constantly because they are free to experiment. They cooperate naturally because they are not forced to compete. They solve problems creatively because they are not bound by imperial standard procedures. She pulled up displays showing comparative data. New Haven's efficiency and resource use, 40% better than imperial average. Their medical outcomes, 30% better. Their educational results, children learning faster and more comprehensively. Their crime rate, 90% lower. Their citizen satisfaction, immeasurably higher. Kira looked at Velmoth. You argued they need imperial protection. But from what? They have survived 10,000 years alone. They have harmed no one. They offer to share their knowledge freely with anyone who asks respectfully. The only threat to New Haven is the Empire itself. Velmoth's face darkened. Chief Investigator, you are dangerously close to insubordination. I am dangerously close to honesty, Kira replied. Something the Empire apparently struggles with. Before Velmoth could respond, new information appeared on the chamber screens. It was a message from outside the Empire entirely. 3 independent civilizations had been watching the trial. The Lumara Collective sent a formal communication. The Lumara Collective recognizes New Haven as a sovereign human civilization. We offer full diplomatic relations, trade agreements, and mutual defense pact. We invite other independent civilizations to join us in welcoming humanity back to the galactic community. 2 more independent civilizations sent similar messages within minutes. Suddenly, New Haven had allies, not within the Empire, but outside it. The humans were no longer isolated. Velmoth slammed his hand on the podium. This trial is not about external politics. It is about imperial law and imperial authority. Then let us speak of imperial law, said Bora, stepping forward. The young teacher had been quiet throughout most of the trial, but now she carried a thick digital file. I have studied every integration case in imperial history. 647 species have been integrated over 3,000 years. I reviewed the legal justifications for each case. She displayed the data. In every case, the Empire claimed integration was necessary for the species' protection or advancement. In every case, the species was deemed incapable of independent governance. In every case, the Empire promised to preserve cultural heritage while actually systematically erasing it within 3 generations. Bora's voice grew stronger. The Empire does not integrate civilizations. It absorbs them. It homogenizes them. It transforms them into copies of itself. You do not preserve diversity. You eliminate it while claiming to protect it. She pointed to the judges. You sit there representing your species, but do you truly? Do you remember your original cultures, your ancient languages, your pre-imperial traditions? Or have they been replaced with imperial common, imperial customs, imperial thinking? Several judges looked uncomfortable. One, an elderly representative of an aquatic species, slowly nodded. My grandmother spoke the old language, she said quietly. I never learned it. It was deemed inefficient. Now no one speaks it. It is dead. And that, Bora said gently, is why we cannot accept integration. We are not afraid of change or cooperation. We are afraid of erasure. We are the last humans who remember what it means to be human without imperial definition. If we lose that, it is lost forever. The chamber fell silent again. The weight of her words settled over everyone. This was no longer just about New Haven. It was about what the Empire had become and whether that was right. During the recess, Hyun-woo met privately with Admiral Sung-ho. The Admiral had requested the meeting. I want to help you, Sung-ho said. I command 30 ships. If the Empire moves against New Haven, I will defend you. Hyun-woo shook his head. That would make you a traitor. You would lose everything. I have already lost everything that matters, Sung-ho replied. I thought I was serving a noble cause. I believed the Empire brought peace and progress. Now I know I have spent my life enforcing lies. Let me do something true. There is something you can do, Hyun-woo said, but it does not involve fighting. We need witnesses. When this trial ends, no matter how it ends, the galaxy must remember what was revealed here. Can you ensure the records are preserved and distributed widely? Sung-ho smiled. I can do better than that. I know officers in every fleet who are questioning what they have learned today. I will contact them all. If the Empire tries to suppress this, We will make sure the truth spreads faster. Back in the trial chamber, the Empress herself appeared via holographic projection. She was ancient, having ruled for 800 years. Her appearance silenced everyone instantly. I have observed this trial with great interest, the Empress said. Her voice was tired but firm. 10,000 years ago, the Empire made choices I did not approve of. I was young then, newly crowned, and my advisors convinced me that humans were a threat to imperial stability. I allowed actions I should have prevented. She paused, and for a moment she looked incredibly old. I cannot undo the past. Earth is gone. Billions died. That shame belongs to the Empire and to me personally, but I can choose how we proceed from here. The Empress looked directly at Hyunwoo. The humans of New Haven have proven themselves worthy of sovereignty. They have survived, thrived, and innovated without conquest or cruelty. They offer knowledge freely rather than hoarding it. They cooperate rather than dominate. These are qualities I wish the Empire possessed more of. She turned to address the full chamber. I hereby recognize New Haven as an independent sovereign civilization. They will have full diplomatic status, the right to self-governance, and the protection of imperial law against aggression. High Inquisitor Velmoth, you will... An explosion rocked the chamber. Alarms blared. The Empress's hologram flickered and vanished. Emergency lights activated. Through the transparent walls, space lit up with weapons fire. Velmoth's ships had opened fire on the station. This trial is over, Velmoth announced, his voice cold. The Empress is old and weak. Her judgment is compromised. I am invoking emergency military authority. The humans will be secured for the Empire's safety. Resistance will be met with appropriate force. He looked at Hyunwoo. You should have accepted integration peacefully. Now you will learn what defiance costs. Soldiers stormed into the chamber, but before they could reach the New Haven delegation, Admiral Sung-ho and 30 other officers formed a protective barrier. You will not touch them, Sung-ho said quietly. Velmoth laughed. You in what army, Admiral? This one, replied a voice over the communication system. On the displays, dozens of Imperial ships changed their transponder codes. They were declaring loyalty to the Empress and opposition to Velmoth's coup. The Empire had fractured, and the battle for New Haven's future had begun. The Imperial investigation fleet arrived exactly on schedule. 6 massive ships filled the sky above K773, casting shadows across the barren surface. Tae Yang watched from the viewing platform in New Haven as dropships descended like metal rain. 200 Imperial personnel disembarked, carrying equipment and weapons. Chief Investigator Kira led the inspection team. She belonged to an insectoid species known for their analytical minds and attention to detail. Her compound eyes missed nothing. She walked through the metal door into New Haven with the confidence of someone who had conducted 1,000 such investigations. Hyunwoo greeted her personally. Welcome to our home, he said with a slight bow. We will cooperate fully with your inspection. Kira did not return the bow. This is not a courtesy visit. The Empire requires verification of your identity, assessment of your technology, and determination of your status. You will provide complete access to all facilities and records. Of course, Hyunwoo replied calmly. We have nothing to hide. The inspection began immediately. Kira divided her teams across New Haven, documenting every structure, every system, every person. Soldiers stood guard at key locations while scientists scanned and measured. Political officers interviewed citizens, checking their stories for consistency. Taeyang remained in New Haven, officially to assist with the inspection. Unofficially, he felt protective of the humans. He had spent 6 days with them, learning their ways. They were genuine and kind in a way he rarely encountered in the Empire. He did not trust what his superiors might do. On the second day, Kira inspected the power generation facility. Ji-won guided her through the fusion reactor complex. The reactors hummed with steady power, clean and efficient. This design is not in Imperial databases, Kira observed, her mandibles clicking as she processed data. Where did you acquire these specifications? We developed them ourselves, Ji-won explained. Our ancestors brought basic fusion theory from Earth. Over centuries we refined it. We had to. Power was survival. Kira's eyes focused on a control panel. Your efficiency rating exceeds Imperial standards by 38%. This should not be possible with your limited resources. Jiwan smiled. Necessity drives innovation. We could not afford waste, so we eliminated it. Every photon of energy is captured and used. The Empire has abundant resources, so perhaps efficiency was never a priority. The statement hung in the air. Kira said nothing, but her antennae twitched. She made detailed notes and moved to the next section. In the agricultural domes, Daehyun showed the inspection team his gardens. Plants grew in stacked levels, each variety carefully positioned to complement the others. The air smelled rich and alive. These growth rates are impossible, declared an Imperial botanist. These plants require triple the nutrients you are providing. Daehyun knelt beside a tomato plant, touching its leaves gently. The plants taught us what they needed. We listened. See how this species shares nitrogen with its neighbors? They work together. In Imperial farms, each plant fights alone. Here, they cooperate. The botanist frowned. Plants do not cooperate. They compete for resources. Perhaps they do both, Daehyun suggested, depending on how we treat them. The inspection teams discovered similar patterns everywhere. The humans had no weapons, but their mining equipment could cut through solid rock like paper. They had no military training, but every citizen understood emergency procedures perfectly. They had no formal police force, but crime was virtually non-existent. Kira found this last point particularly suspicious. On the fourth day, she questioned Hyunwoo directly. Every civilization has crime, she stated. Violence, theft, corruption. Your records show almost none. This suggests either dishonesty or severe punishment you are hiding. Hyunwoo considered his response carefully. We are 50,000 people living in an enclosed space. We depend completely on each other. If I steal from you, I am stealing from everyone, including myself. If I hurt you, I weaken our entire community. We teach these principles from childhood. Crime still happens, but rarely. When it does, we focus on understanding why and helping the person contribute better. That is naive, Kira replied. People are inherently selfish. Are they? Hyunwoo asked. Or do they become selfish when they are taught to compete instead of cooperate? That evening, Kira compiled her reports. The data troubled her deeply. The humans demonstrated capabilities that challenged Imperial superiority in multiple fields. More disturbing, their social structure seemed to function better than Imperial systems without force or fear. She opened classified Imperial archives, searching for answers. What she found made her mandibles lock in shock. There were records, deeply buried, of humanity's first contact with the Empire. Humans had not been primitives. They had been explorers, scientists, and philosophers. The Empire had approached them with demands. Humans had refused. War followed. The war lasted 50 years. Humans fought with cunning and determination, never in open battle but always in shadows. They sabotaged Imperial ships, freed enslaved species, and spread dissent. The Empire won eventually through sheer overwhelming force. They destroyed Earth with radiation weapons, killing billions. But some humans escaped. The Empire declared them extinct and buried the truth. It was easier to claim humans were primitives who died naturally than to admit they were refugees who escaped Imperial genocide. Kira closed the files, her mind racing. She had a duty to report what she found, but she also had a conscience. These humans were not a threat. They were survivors of Imperial aggression, living peacefully for 10 millennia. Meanwhile, young Kale had become friends with Minji, the human teenager. They met each evening in one of the parks, talking about their lives. Are all Imperial worlds like your descriptions? Minji asked. Everyone competing, serving quotas, earning status? Kyle nodded. That is normal life. You work, you contribute, you earn your place. The strong rise, the weak serve. That sounds exhausting, Minji said. Here we just live. We work because work needs doing, not for status. We help each other because we are all in this together. But what about ambition? Kale asked. Do you not want to be more than you are? Minji thought about this. I want to learn more, help more, maybe teach children someday like Bora does, but I do not need to be above anyone else to do that. Is that ambition? Kyle had no answer. He had been taught that ambition meant climbing over others. The idea that you could grow without pushing others down seemed strange but appealing. On the 6th day, High Inquisitor Velmoth arrived. His ship was twice the size of the others, black as space itself. He summoned Kira and Taeyang to his command chamber. Your reports are concerning, Velmoth said, his voice cold. These humans possess technology we need. More problematically, they represent a challenge to Imperial historical accuracy. They are not a threat, Taeyang said quickly. They have no weapons, no expansion plans, no hostile intent. Their existence is hostile, Velmoth replied. The Empire stated they were extinct. We cannot be wrong. If we are wrong about this, what else might we be wrong about? Other species might question our authority. Kira spoke carefully. Perhaps we could simply admit the error and integrate them peacefully. Velmoth's eyes narrowed. There was no error. Humans were extinct. These are a newly discovered subspecies. They will be integrated under standard protocols. They will share their technology, accept Imperial governance, and adopt proper Imperial culture. This is not negotiable. He turned to a display showing New Haven. Inform their leader. They have 3 days to accept integration. If they refuse, we will implement forced compliance. The Empire does not ask permission. Taeyang and Kira left the command chamber in silence. Both knew what forced compliance meant: occupation, re-education, destruction of culture. It had happened to dozens of species. Taeyang went to find Hyunwoo. He found the human leader in a classroom, watching Bora teach children about biology. The children were mixed, mostly human, but a few were children of Imperial personnel who had been invited to attend. We need to talk, Taeyang said quietly. Hyunwoo nodded. They walked to a quiet corner. Taeyang explained everything. The ultimatum, Velmoth's intentions, the 3-day deadline. Hyunwoo listened without interruption. When Taeyang finished, the human leader was quiet for a long moment. Thank you for the warning, Hyunwoo finally said. I suspected this was coming. The Empire does not tolerate challenges to its authority. What will you do? Taeyang asked. Hyunwoo smiled sadly. We have survived for 10,000 years by being smarter than our circumstances. We will do what humans do best. We will adapt. Space around the Grand Chamber Station erupted into chaos. Ships fired on each other as the Imperial fleet split into factions. Those loyal to the Empress fought those following Velmoth's coup. Explosions lit the darkness like terrible flowers. Inside the chamber, Sung Ho's officers evacuated the New Haven delegation. They rushed through corridors as the station shook from weapons impacts. Hyunwoo ran alongside Jiwon, Bora, and Daehyun. Behind them, they could hear Velmoth shouting orders to his soldiers. There, Taeyang appeared at an intersection, waving them toward a docking bay. His ship waited with engines hot. Quickly, I will get you back to New Haven. They scrambled aboard. The ship launched just as Velmoth's soldiers reached the bay. Laser fire scorched their hull, but they escaped into the battle. Taeyang flew like a creature possessed, weaving between capital ships and dodging debris. Velmoth has gone mad, Taeyang said as he piloted. He is losing control of the Empire and cannot accept it. He thinks if he crushes New Haven, he can restore his authority. What about the Empress? Hyunwoo asked. Safe. Sung Ho's people secured her before Velmoth could reach her. She is broadcasting orders to stand down, but half the fleet is ignoring her. This is civil war. They reached K773 to find more bad news. Velmoth's battle fleet surrounded the moon, bombarding the surface. The barren landscape exploded under plasma fire. They were trying to blast through to New Haven. The shields are holding, Jiwon said, monitoring the scanners. But they were never designed for military attack. They will fail eventually. Taeyang landed in New Haven through a side entrance. The underground city had activated emergency protocols. Citizens moved calmly but quickly to deeper shelters. There was no panic. These were people who had survived for 10,000 years by preparing for every contingency. Yunwoo gathered his council. Status report, Di-hyun spoke first. All civilians are in protected areas. Food and water supplies will last 6 months in lockdown. Medical facilities are prepared for casualties, Ji-won added. The shields are at 70% capacity. They can withstand another 12 hours of bombardment, maybe 18 if we reroute power from non-essential systems. Can we fight back? Someone asked. No, Yunwoo said firmly. We have no weapons and we will not build any now. That is not who we are, then what do? Bora asked. Wait for them to break through? Yunwoo looked at the faces around him. These were teachers, farmers, engineers, and parents. Not soldiers. They had built something beautiful here, something worth protecting. But he would not let them become killers to save it. We survive, he said, like we always have, by being smarter than the problem. Above them, Taeyang's sabotage from orbit began to show results. Half of Velmoth's ships had been infiltrated by sympathetic crew members. They started experiencing power failures and weapons malfunctions. The bombardment slowed. Velmoth, realizing the orbital attack was failing, made a desperate decision. He would land ground forces and take New Haven by force. 2,000 soldiers loaded into dropships and descended toward the moon's surface. In New Haven, sensors tracked the incoming landing craft. Hyunwoo made a decision. Open emergency channel to the landing forces. A communications officer looked confused but obeyed. Channel open. Attention Imperial soldiers, Hyunwoo broadcast. You are about to attack a civilian population. We have no weapons. We will not fight you. But before you do this, I want you to know who we are. He gestured and Bora began transmitting. Images of New Haven appeared. Children learning in schools, families eating together, scientists working in laboratories, farmers tending gardens. Simple scenes of daily life. We are teachers and farmers, Hyunwoo continued. We are engineers and artists. We are parents and grandparents. We have spent 10,000 years building a home that harms no one. Your commander wants you to destroy us because we remind the galaxy that the Empire is built on lies. Are you willing to kill children to protect those lies? Silence answered him. The dropships continued their descent. But then, one by one, they began changing course. Not all of them, but many. Nearly half the landing force refused the order. They returned to orbit or landed away from New Haven's entrances. Velmoth watched in horror as his forces disobeyed. He screamed orders, threatened court-martials, invoked military law. Some soldiers still obeyed. 800 of them landed near New Haven's main entrance and began marching toward the tunnels. Hyunwoo met with his people one final time. They are coming. We cannot stop them with force, but we can show them what they are destroying. Everyone not in essential positions, come with me. Thousands of humans moved toward the entrance. They did not carry weapons. They carried nothing but themselves. When Velmoth's soldiers breached the first tunnel, they found a corridor filled with silent people. Families holding hands, elderly standing with dignity, children looking up with curious eyes. The soldiers stopped, uncertain. Their training had prepared them for resistance, for combat, for threats. Not for this, not for peaceful citizens simply standing in their way. Move aside, the lead soldier ordered. We have authorization to use force. We know, Hyunwoo said, standing at the front. Do what you must, but you will have to go through every one of us. And when you do, when you kill us all, you will have to look at yourself in the mirror every day for the rest of your life and remember what you did. The soldiers looked at each other. Some raised their weapons. Others lowered them. The lead soldier, a young Vrathian named Kale, removed his helmet. It was the same Kale who had befriended Minji during the inspection. I cannot do this, Kale said simply. He dropped his weapon. Several other soldiers did the same. Velmoth, watching through their helmet cameras, went into a rage. He took direct control of a remaining assault shuttle and piloted it himself toward New Haven. If his soldiers would not do it, he would destroy the humans personally. The shuttle crashed through the moon's surface, drilling toward the city. Alarms blared. The ceiling above the central plaza began to crack. Velmoth's ship would break through within minutes, and its weapons could devastate the population. Dae-hyun acted without thinking. He knew the tunnel systems better than anyone. He ran to the agricultural section and opened the emergency vents. Superheated steam from the geothermal plants roared through specific passages, creating a barrier. Velmoth's ship struck the steam barrier and its engines failed. The shuttle tumbled, crashing in an empty section of tunnel. Velmoth survived the crash. He emerged from the wreckage, weapon in hand, determined to kill as many humans as possible before he was stopped. He staggered through the tunnels, following sounds toward the populated areas. Dae-hyun found him first. The farmer stood in the tunnel unarmed between Velmoth and the residential sections. "Move," Velmoth snarled, raising his weapon. "No," Dae-hyun said quietly. "You have to go through me first," Velmoth fired. The blast should have killed Dae-hyun instantly. Instead, it struck a shield generator that Ji-won had installed throughout the tunnels. The shield held, but barely. Before Velmoth could fire again, more humans appeared. They did not attack him. They simply surrounded him, creating a barrier with their bodies. They stood silent, eyes meeting his, showing no fear. Velmoth looked at the faces around him. Humans of all ages. Some crying, some angry, but all standing firm. He realized then that he could not win. Even if he killed every human in this tunnel, more would come. They would never stop. Not because they were violent, but because they refused to surrender their right to exist. His weapon hand began to shake. The rage drained from him, replaced by exhaustion and shame. What had he become? He had devoted his life to the Empire, believing it represented order and civilization. But in this moment, surrounded by peaceful people he wanted to murder, he saw the truth. He was the monster. Not them. Velmoth dropped his weapon. He fell to his knees. "I do not understand you," he whispered. "I tried to destroy you. Why do you not hate me?" Hyunwoo pushed through the crowd. "Because hate would make us like you. We choose to be better." In orbit, the battle was ending. With Velmoth's forces in disarray and the Empress's authority restored, ships began standing down. Admiral Sung-ho broadcast a ceasefire order that both sides accepted. The civil war had lasted less than a day. The Empress arrived at New Haven personally 3 days later. She walked through the city with Hyunwoo, seeing everything: the gardens, the schools, the laboratories, the homes. She met with citizens, spoke with children, and observed how the society functioned. "You have built something remarkable," she told Hyunwoo. "The Empire could learn much from you." "Then let us teach," Hyunwoo replied. "Not through force or integration, but through friendship and cooperation. We will share what we know freely. In return, perhaps you can help us find other human survivors across the galaxy." The Empress agreed. She issued a formal decree recognizing New Haven as a sovereign nation and establishing an alliance based on mutual respect. She also began reforms within the Empire, creating a council where member species had real power, not token representation. Velmoth remained in New Haven for a full year as a guest. The humans fed him, housed him, and taught him. Slowly, he began to understand what he had nearly destroyed. Hyunwoo stood before the assembled citizens of New Haven. The central plaza was filled with every human who could attend. Children sat with parents. Elders gathered in clusters. Everyone knew something important was about to happen. "The Empire has given us 3 days to accept their authority," Hyunwoo announced. His voice carried across the silent crowd. "They want control of our city, our technology, and our way of life. If we refuse, they will take it by force." Murmurs spread through the crowd. Fear showed on some faces, anger on others. But mostly there was determination. These were people descended from survivors. They did not surrender easily. "We have one option that might save us," Hyunwoo continued. "Imperial law includes an ancient right called the trial of sovereignty. Any civilization can request formal judgment on their status. The Empire must honor this request or appear tyrannical to other member species. I propose we invoke this right." An elderly woman raised her hand. "What if we lose the trial?" "Then we lose anyway," Hyunwoo said honestly. "But at least we fight with words instead of blood. At least the galaxy will hear our story." The vote was unanimous. New Haven would demand a trial. Velmoth received the request with barely contained rage. "This is a stalling tactic," he told Kira. "The trial is an outdated formality. No one has invoked it in 1,000 years." "But they have invoked it," Kira replied. "You cannot refuse without violating Imperial law. Other species are watching. If you deny the trial, you risk inspiring resistance elsewhere." Velmoth realized she was right. He had no choice. "Fine, schedule the trial. 7 days from now. But the outcome is not in question. These humans will submit." The next 7 days became a blur of activity. Hyunwoo, Jiwon, Bora, and Dae-hyun worked together to build their case. They needed to prove that New Haven deserved recognition as an independent civilization. Ji-won focused on the technical aspects. She compiled evidence of all their innovations, showing clear independent development without any stolen technology. Every blueprint, every prototype, every failed experiment was documented. The record proved decades of original research. Dae-hyun gathered testimonials from Imperial personnel who had experienced New Haven firsthand. Soldiers who had been fed, scientists who had learned new techniques, even children of Imperial workers who attended Bora's classes. Each testimony showed the positive impact of human culture. Bora prepared the philosophical argument. She researched Imperial law, finding precedents and principles that supported their case. The Empire claimed to value diversity and respect cultural heritage. She would hold them to those claimed values. Hyun-woo practiced his presentation endlessly. He knew he would face hostile judges and a skeptical audience. He needed to be perfect. Meanwhile, something unexpected happened. Admiral Sung-ho, a high-ranking Imperial officer who was himself descended from a different human population, began asking questions. He contacted representatives from 3 species that had been forcibly integrated into the Empire centuries ago. "Are you watching what is happening with the New Haven humans?" he asked them privately. They were watching, and they were very interested. If humans could win their sovereignty, it might inspire their own peoples to seek independence. The trial location was the Grand Chamber on the Imperial Capital Station. The chamber could hold 10,000 spectators and every seat was filled. Billions more watched via broadcast across the Empire. The judges sat in a raised platform. 12 representatives from major Imperial species with Velmoth presiding as High Inquisitor. Hyun-woo entered the chamber with Ji-won, Bo-ra, and Dae-hyun. They wore simple clothes, nothing fancy or military. They looked small and fragile compared to the massive aliens surrounding them. That was intentional. Hyun-woo wanted everyone to see them as they truly were, ordinary people defending their home. Velmoth opened the proceedings. "We are here to determine the status of the human settlement known as New Haven. The Empire contends that these humans should be integrated as protected citizens under Imperial governance. The humans request independent sovereignty. Each side will present their case." Velmoth presented the Empire's argument first. He displayed holograms showing human physical weakness. Humans had no natural armor, no claws, no venom, no significant strength. They were small and died young compared to most Imperial species. "These beings cannot defend themselves," Velmoth argued. "They have no military, no conquered territories, no formal government matching Imperial standards. They are a fragment lost and vulnerable. The Empire offers them protection, resources, and connection to the greater galactic community. To refuse this is to condemn them to isolation and eventual extinction." The judges nodded. The argument seemed reasonable. Humans looked helpless. Why would they refuse help? Then Hyun-woo stepped forward. He did not argue that humans were strong. Instead, he told a story. 10,000 years ago, our ancestors crashed on a dead moon. They had no food, no water, no resources. By all logic, they should have died within weeks. But they did not die. They looked at bare rock and saw potential. They looked at darkness and brought light. They looked at impossible odds and said, "We will survive anyway." He showed footage of New Haven under construction. Humans working together, building the first habitat modules, digging the first gardens. Images of failures, collapsed tunnels, failed crops, broken equipment. Then images of perseverance. The same tunnels rebuilt stronger, new crop varieties developed, equipment redesigned. "We are not strong," Hyun-woo said, "but we are resilient. That is our nature. We adapt, we learn. We never stop trying." He presented testimonials from Taeyang's crew, a soldier whose leg had been injured for years, healed by human medical technology, a scientist who learned new farming techniques that doubled yields, a mother whose child thrived in Bora's classroom, learning to think creatively. "The Empire asks what we contribute," Hyun-woo said. "We contribute innovation. We contribute compassion. We contribute the knowledge that survival does not require domination. We have lived in peace for 10,000 years, harming no one, conquering nothing, yet thriving. Is that not valuable?" The chamber was silent. Even the judges looked thoughtful. The trial continued for 3 days. Ji-won presented technical data, showing clear evidence that all human technology was independently developed. Dae-hyun explained their social structure, demonstrating that cooperation was not weakness but strength. Bo-ra quoted Imperial law. showing that forced integration violated the Empire's own principles. But on the third day, Velmoth revealed his ultimate weapon. He projected an ancient document onto the chamber screens. It was a treaty, signed 10,000 years ago, stamped with official imperial seals. This treaty, Velmoth announced triumphantly, was signed after the destruction of Earth. It states clearly that any human survivors found in the galaxy automatically become protected wards of the Empire. The humans of New Haven are legally imperial property. They have no right to refuse integration. The courtroom erupted in noise. Hyunwoo's face went pale. The treaty appeared legitimate. If it was real, they had no legal standing. Everything they had argued became irrelevant. The judges called for order. They began examining the document. Hyunwoo looked at his team in desperation. They had not expected this. If the treaty was valid, they had lost. Then Jiwon stood up. "We would like to present new evidence," she said loudly. Velmoth glared at her. What evidence could possibly counter an official imperial treaty? Jiwon smiled. It was not a happy smile. The truth. She activated a portable projector. Data streams filled the air. These are records from the original colony ship that crashed on K773. We recovered them from the ship's black box. They contain the complete historical archive of humanity's first contact with the Vrathian Empire 10,000 years ago. The judges leaned forward. Even Velmoth looked uncertain. According to these records, Jiwon continued, humans were never primitives. We were explorers, scientists, and philosophers. When the Empire approached us, we refused to join. We had no interest in conquest. The Empire viewed our refusal as an insult. They declared us primitives and attempted to conquer Earth. She displayed images, battles in space, human resistance fighters, diplomatic appeals to other species. The war lasted 50 years. Humans never won major battles, but they never surrendered. They fought with intelligence and desperation. Finally, Jiwon said quietly, the Empire deployed radiation weapons. They sterilized Earth. Billions died. Our ancestors watched their homeworld burn from space as they fled in colony ships. The chamber was absolutely silent now. Jiwon zoomed in on one particular document. The treaty High Inquisitor Velmoth showed you. It was created after Earth's destruction. It was not an agreement. It was a justification. The Empire needed a legal excuse for genocide, so they fabricated this document claiming humans had agreed to be protected wards. But how could we agree to anything? We were dead. She looked directly at Velmoth. The treaty is a lie. Just like the claim that we were primitives was a lie. Just like the claim that we died naturally was a lie. The Empire erased the truth because it was embarrassing. We fought back. We resisted. And that made the Empire look weak. Velmoth stood, his voice shaking with rage. This is slander. Those records could be fabricated.